Everybody. So one of the questions we got was about, we talked about the daddy issues a little bit, and a couple of people were asking, well, what about the mama's boys and that kind of thing. And it's interesting we didn't talk about, one of the questions were never about the mama issues or the mommy issues. It was the mama's boy. And it's an interesting dynamic because that's how most people see it. So there's more to unpack with that. We probably won't get into all the details of it. But when it comes down to the mother issues, because it's not always the mama's boy, you get a woman who basically has the mother issues. It can be actually the same dynamics, but it ends up showing up in a different way with a different result. So, mama's boy, this ties directly into the nice guy syndrome. So, typically, if you're having a mama's boy, mother issues when it comes to a guy who hasn't cut the cord yet, those typical statements, okay? That's the nice guy syndrome. Typically, it's the person who has a real lack of boundaries. It's going to people pleaser. There's a lot more to it, though. Typically, statistically speaking, what you have is a guy who's going to be the people pleaser, trying to make good on everything. Usually at the same time has an abusive father, missing father, absentee father, whatever the case is. So it's never just the mother issue, it's other sides at the same time. There was this ridiculous individual on 90 Day Fiance, which was probably the epitome of that one. Colt, I think it was. Colt was the guy's name, and had this Cuban mail order bride who called him Colty. Classic example of that, where you have the missing father, obviously a dynamic which never discussed in the show. And I'm not trying to dog on Colt there, sorry, because everybody deserves happiness, including him. But he was a prime example. He was the poster child for it. The people pleaser type of thing, but definite demonstrative trauma in a lot of the other ways. A lot of the other things that he did, a lot of the ways he talked, a lot of the particular unchanging cadence and the way he spoke. Very strong dynamic of trauma and a missing father figure, because typically understand the mama's boy does not have the somehow male figure that's going to show him the dynamics of self-respect and how to respect a woman that way. So really the boundaries, which is something that a lot of women do respect, which is a man who does have that take charge type of boundaries type of thing, not in an aggressive way, but in the way that is reals their solid respect for levels of things that they truly value and cherish and morals. And the nice guy stuff, it's not as though nice guys finish last, because they don't. The issue about nice guys finish last, which is the mama's boy stuff, usually, it's not that. And this is where people get messed up. There's so many dynamics to this. The nice guys finish last concept is the nice guy who doesn't have those boundaries. They don't have those respect boundaries. So what ends up happening is they let people walk all over them because they're always people pleasing. There's nothing wrong with a nice guy at all, so long as they have that masculinity at the same time. You can be a masculine person and be the total nice guy, which is not a kiss ass and a people pleaser. It just means you have those boundaries and respect. Because understand, a woman to be attracted to the nice guy, they have to have that level of respect. They have to have that level of boundaries, because that's a protector. If a person is someone who can be taken advantage of because they're too nice, the respect from a woman ends up being something that is pulled away and lost. Because if I can choose to do this and you're going to kiss ass, how are you going to protect the family, the children? How are you going to protect me from any other threat that is actually out there? So the person who has that nice guy image, it really is the lack of masculinity and boundaries is what it is. And that's typically how it's going to be demonstrated from a guy. Now, when it comes to the woman side of it, because we can't leave that out of it, it's honestly kind of the same thing to some degree. However, it can be so much, the boundaries are a lack of boundaries with the mother more so. And what ends up happening is a lack of boundaries in the relationship, because there's too much connectivity to that and too much influence, too much of the family dynamic in the relationship at the same time. And that's where they're going to be in a whole lot of problems, because they're really, at the end of the day, it still comes down to a lack of respect for the unity the two of you have. It's just shown in a bit of a different way, because that is something that's not valued. The hyper connection to the female role model means they have a lack of connection to themselves. And it's the same with the male dynamic at the same time. And it's really how it's demonstrated, how much true love you actually give to the relationship. And at the end of the day, how much you've really allowed yourself to learn about yourself, because that's what you're giving to the relationship. At the end of the day, it comes down to you can't give what you don't have. And it doesn't mean you have to have it when you get into a relationship. You do have to be willing to look at it and just simply accept it, and be willing to then, therefore, just work on it. It doesn't have to be 100% all the time. God, you could be at 2% as long as you're doing it. as long as you're genuine, authentic, and you're actually communicating that with your partner. Success, it's there as long as you two have the genuine connection, then it's there. But again, it's in every situation. It takes two people. I mean, really, it goes back to the forgiveness one that I just recorded as well. It's the two people involved at the same time. When you own that, you have all the power in the world. You attract somebody else who's in that same space, and the two of you are there. Great. If only one person is there, you're doomed. Take care.